Welcome back, everyone. We've now cleared the warm-up battles and tackled the first 3 core battles of the Phototaxis in Study event. That means we're heading into the final stretch, but if you were expecting a major shift in strategy or a tough challenge, well, these last 3 battles might be a little underwhelming. They play out almost identically to what we've already been doing, and the rewards are pretty lackluster. However, they are tied to key achievements in this version update, so if you want to complete all your badges, it's worth going through them. Let's start with the first battle in this segment, Urgent Excavation. This fight lasts about 6 minutes, and our strategy remains largely unchanged from the previous battles, especially Dawning Enlightenment. In Urgent Excavation, we're up against 2 elite Manus Vindictae bosses. They come with memory shell shields and a buff swapping mechanic, meaning they alternate strengths between rounds. But here's the thing. None of that actually matters if you approach this fight correctly. The key to making this battle effortless is the same strategy we've been using. Running the blue thought process, maximizing swap-ins, and chaining mass attack ultimates to overwhelm the enemies before they can act. I focused on strong single-target ultimates here, so I brought Medicine Pocket and Lilia for raw damage. But I also dug into my roster a bit to bring Tenant for her shield on swap-in, Bicorn Bloom for her sealing ability, and Satsuki for her high single-target burst and petrification effect. If you don't have strong 6-star Arcanists, don't overlook your 5-star options. There are plenty of solid picks with control effects that can completely shut down this fight. Now, because there are only 2 enemies, keeping them locked down is extremely easy. Anjo Nala, especially when contracted with Lucy, can stun lock these bosses practically by herself. But when you combine that with additional stuns, seals, and petrifications from the rest of your team, you can completely shut them out. This turns the fight into a dead battle, meaning the enemies won't even get a chance to attack or use ultimates. As you'll see in my video, I rotate in my Arcanists to apply their control abilities in sequence. Since the Manus Vindictae bosses swap buffs between turns, stopping them from acting at all is the best way to ignore that mechanic entirely. With this approach, a healer isn't necessary. I did bring Medicine Pocket, but more for their ultimate damage and stun than actual healing. Why Anjo Nala is a must-have. This battle is yet another showcase for Anjo Nala and why she's one of the most valuable units in this event. Even if you don't have a fully maxed out version of her, just having 1 copy can make a huge difference. Her ability to consistently stun lock enemies and deal massive damage completely changes the flow of these fights, and I'm confident she'll remain just as useful in future events. If you haven't picked up at least 1 copy of her yet, I strongly recommend thinking about how you're using your summons before this patch ends. With this fight wrapped up, the next 2 battles are going to follow the same blueprint. Use the blue thought process, swap in frequently, and stack control effects to completely neutralize the enemies. We're not reinventing the wheel here, just refining the same effective strategy to clear these stages as efficiently as possible. Alright, that covers Urgent Excavation. Now that we've covered all the battles, I want to take a moment to talk about Phototaxis in Study as an event, and why I probably won't be making more videos for it in the future, unless something major changes. At this point, I'm sure everyone is feeling it. This event is extremely repetitive. The battles may have different names and slight variations in mechanics, but at the end of the day, we're running the exact same strategy over and over again. I'm essentially telling you to apply control effects, use the blue thought process, swap frequently, and spam ultimates. Rinse and repeat. That's not a great use of my time, and honestly, it's not a great use of my viewers' time either. Because of that, I don't expect to cover this event again unless we see a significant meta shift or major changes to how the content works. That said, I am seeing positive engagement on these videos, which tells me that they're helping players clear these battles efficiently. If this event cycles back in a future update without any major adjustments, I hope these guides will still be relevant and useful for anyone looking for an easy clear. For now, though, this will likely be my last Phototaxis in Study guide, at least until something shakes things up. Thanks for watching, and let's move on to the next battle.
Loading. Target confirmed. Charging. Barrage.
Swallow my exhaust. Go! 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 Hup!
This next battle, Limits of Moths, keeps up with the overall moth-related theme of this event. If you're deep into reverse 1999 lore, you might have picked up on the significance of moths and light, something we've seen before with the Numa Analysis boss, the enigmatic Mothman. By now, that fight has probably become such a routine part of our daily grind that we don't even think about it anymore. But it's interesting that this theme is explicitly referenced in both the battle name and the moth collecting mechanics of the event. Now, if you cleared Urgent Excavation without much difficulty, Limits of Moths is going to feel nearly identical. There are two bosses with some mechanics that interact with each other, but honestly, none of that matters. Just bring the same team and execute the exact same strategy. Stunlock them, apply control effects, and don't worry about healing. If they can't use incantations or ultimates, they're completely crippled, and you can just beat them down. This is another one of those fights where the challenge is basically non-existent, as long as you keep them locked down. It's not particularly engaging or fun, but you will see some big damage numbers, and it's another opportunity to absolutely stomp through this content.
Charging. Target confirmed.
Since this fight doesn't require much strategic depth, I want to take some time to reflect on this event as a whole. One thing I genuinely enjoyed about Phototaxis and Study was the opportunity to revisit my 5-star characters, many of whom I haven't had a reason to use in several updates. It felt validating to put them back into battle and see them perform well. As someone who has invested in and maxed out several 5-star Arcanists, I already knew they were capable, but this event reinforced that they still have a place in the game. I hope that Bluepoch continues to release new 5-star characters that are viable and creates content that keeps them relevant. Sure, 6 stars are where most players focus their investment, and rightfully so. But a well-built, maxed-out 5-star character at Resonance 10 and level 65 is nothing to scoff at. I'm glad this event allowed me to use them effectively, and I hope we continue to see content that highlights their strengths. That said, there's something that needs to be addressed: the shift in rewards and difficulty in recent updates. When Reverse 1999 first launched, challenging battles actually felt rewarding. We had Limbo and Utu, which featured legitimately tough fights, like the Giant Eagle, that forced players to think carefully about their roster development. Not only were those fights engaging, but the rewards felt significant. Lately, though, we've seen Bluepoch move away from that style of content. The battles have become much easier, and the rewards are far less meaningful. To be honest, it's disappointing. I miss the challenge of fights like Giant Eagle, a boss that was brutal when it first appeared, especially with the Arcanists we had access to at the time. I wasn't able to clear it back then, and yet, that fight left a lasting impression on me. It was a moment that pushed me to invest resources and carefully plan my roster. And when Giant Eagle returned, I crushed it. That kind of experience, one that forces players to make strategic decisions and long-term plans, is what makes a game like this rewarding.
Sadly, these are counterfeits.
The risk of these easy, repetitive battles is that they don't challenge players, which means they don't teach players. If battles like these become the norm,
Target confirmed.
people might start making poor roster-building decisions because they've never been forced to adapt or problem solve. And in a game like this, where long-term planning is critical, that's a real concern. So, to sum it up, Limits of Moths is more of the same. If you've beaten the previous battle, you already know how to win here. But looking at the bigger picture, I hope Bluepoch finds a better balance between accessibility and meaningful challenge, because the moments that really stick with us as players are the ones where we struggle, learn, and overcome. Now, let's move on to the final battle of this event.
Loading. Aim and shoot.
Please, Moths. Secrets always hide in careless words. Listen carefully. Swallow my exhaust. Perfectly under my dark embrace.
Sadly, these are counterfeits. Fragrance and dazzle can easily confuse one's vision. I'm sorry for you.
The glass journey to the cosmos.
This final battle of the Phototaxis and Study event is definitely the most intense of the three. Unlike the previous fights, where we could completely shut down the enemies, this time you're going to take some damage, which might push some players to consider bringing a healer. However, healing isn't necessary if you play the control game correctly, especially with Anjo Nala leading the charge. The main challenge here comes from the Gravel Carbuncles, which function like mini suicide bombers. They cast an ultimate upon entry, deal moderate damage, and then disappear. The large carbuncle boss, meanwhile, boasts an absurd 250 stack memory shell shield, making this a battle of endurance and control. Surviving the first turn. The biggest hurdle is making it through the first turn. The Gravel Carbuncles will unload their ultimates, and the boss will likely hit you hard as well. If your team gets completely wiped, restart the battle, and try again. You can't reliably control everything on the first turn, so this part of the fight is a bit of a damage check. If you're struggling, you might consider bringing a defensive unit with shielding or mitigation. Otherwise, stick with the same team you've been using. Mass attack ultimates and hard control effects will win this fight once you stabilize past turn 1. Strategy after turn 1. Once you get past that initial wave of ultimates, the fight follows the same pattern as the last two battles. Control the battlefield and apply mass damage. Focus all of your attacks on the large carbuncle boss, while letting splash damage from AoE abilities clear out the minions. Anjo Nala is the MVP here. She completely locks down the boss, preventing it from casting ultimates or incantations. Lucy shines in this fight, especially if she stays alive long enough to fully upgrade her abilities. With a fully ramped kit, she can almost handle the fight solo. Regulus and other damage-focused characters can help speed things up, but make sure your control effects take priority. Use the final tuning card generator, preferably for Lucy or Anjo Nala, to keep the lockdown cycle going. A key trick is eliminating the Gravel Carbuncles before they can use their ultimates. If you destroy one before it attacks, the game will spawn a new one, but it won't start casting an ultimate until the next turn. This gives you a window to apply control effects or burst it down before it gets a chance to attack. Shield management. The large carbuncle's 250 stack memory shell shield is a real problem, making it difficult to chip away at its HP. However, this is where our mass attack ultimate spam strategy comes in. The blue thought process synergy ensures we're building Moxie efficiently, so keep spamming AoE damage while rotating control effects. Final thoughts on this fight in the event. If anything, this battle reinforces just how essential Anjo Nala is for this event. If you didn't summon her, you absolutely need to be using an assist version from a friend. The assist system in Reverse 1999 has been a great feature, giving us access to fully invested versions of critical units. Even if you don't own her now, odds are she'll be a go-to support for a long time. This fight also highlights something we've seen in this event: the importance of roster flexibility. If you've been investing in 5-star characters, this event gave them a real opportunity to shine. And while 6-star Arcanists are obviously the top-tier choices, a well-built maxed 5-star character can be just as effective in content like this. Hopefully, Bluepoch continues designing content that keeps 5-star units relevant. On the other hand, this event does expose an ongoing issue: the lack of meaningful challenge and rewards in recent content. When the game launched, Limbo and Utu provided serious battles with rewarding payoffs. Fights like Giant Eagle were brutal, but they forced us to develop long-term strategies and roster investments. This event, by contrast, has been more about executing the same game plan in every battle. The difficulty isn't really strategic, it's just managing ultimate spam from enemies. I'd love to see Bluepoch bring back battles that push players to refine their teams and experiment with different strategies. Right now, events like this risk making roster building feel less important because players aren't being forced to adapt to truly difficult content. With this battle finished, that marks the end of the Phototaxis and Study event. There won't be any more challenging battles until the next update, and Bluepoch has already started teasing what's coming next. Now is a great time to focus on leveling key characters, refining your strategies, and preparing for the next set of challenges. I hope this guide series was helpful. If this event returns in the future, I doubt much will change, so hopefully this breakdown will still be relevant for future runs. Let me know what you thought of this event. Did anything stand out to you? What was your biggest takeaway? And as always, thanks for watching.
I'll fill the cup for you.
Loading. Barrage.
Stay fast, I say. Soffocare sangue. Soffocare sangue.
I weave the gown with thorns. You shall repay with sacrifice of wounds.
Charging. Target confirmed.
Feel this dark embrace. Great. Look.
His trumpets sound. The judgment day hath come. Merci. The sword is drawn.
Perfectly understood you have a little faith in me, Master. I'll fill the cup for you.
Soffoca il sangue! Soffoca il sangue!
Glow. Shines.
Air with dark embrace!
I weave the gown with thorns. You shall repay the sacrifice of wounds.
Place. Look.
Are you ready to shake? Woohoo! Release!
I'll fill the cup for you.
Loading. Barrage.
Air with dark embrace!
Charging. Faraday's miracle.
Flee, mortals!
His trumpets sound. The judgment day hath come.
Shall I, Master?
I, Robot, child of science.